Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody who's in Europe and further east. Good morning to those of you in the West. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Matt Janssen. I'm the Director of International Student Recruitment at Corvinus University of Budapest. And today's session is about making a very high quality Stipendium Hungaricum application. We hope by this point you have researched the program. You're already interested in making an application. Some of you might have different degrees of knowledge as to what the application entails, what the scholarship offers you. But today the focus is on preparing that application and all the steps you need to be aware of. A quick introduction to me, but first, before I introduce myself, I'd like to tell you that we have a student joining us today. So it's Michelle Jaramillo from Ecuador. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Matt. Hi, everybody. Nice to be here with you.
Michelle is a second-year master's student on the sociology program. She's a Stipendium Hungaricum applicant. So she'll share, on a few occasions during the presentation, she'll share some experience with you and she'll give you some top tips as well. As for me, I'm not from Hungary. I'm getting used to saying this in presentations. This is not a Hungarian accent. This is a London accent, and I'm from the UK. I've worked for 9 years in higher education after graduating from Leeds University in the UK with a degree in mathematics and economics. In higher education, I've worked for UK universities, and now I've been at Corvinus for just over 1 year. My background is student recruitment and international business development. I've done admissions, I've done marketing, branding, website work. And also I teach, I'm a business management lecturer at undergraduate degree level. So I'm really committed to education, love working in the sector, and I hope my admissions experience will be valuable to you. I am one of the pre-decision makers, I guess, if you make an application to study with us. I lead on what's called the pre-interview analysis. So I'll be talking to you about what Corvinus does at that stage today. So hopefully this makes me well qualified to give you some good advice on how to prepare the application. And it's my second cycle working with Stipendium Hungaricum applicants and my second academic year in Hungary. So I think that I learned a lot from observing the process last year, and as a result can give you some good tips about how to do it really well this year. So what we're going to talk about today, first of all, we'll talk through the key dates, processes, and what nominations are and how they work. This information is straight from the Tempus website, but we'll reiterate it for you. Then I'll talk about how we assess your application. I think this is important for you. So if you know what we're looking for, you'll know what you have to do better. So I like to be very transparent. I'll tell you exactly how we assess an application. This is to give you the best chance possible. So then using this information, how to prepare a high quality application. Then specifically, we'll talk about the letter of motivation, how to make yours stand out. We'll give some other tips, general tips and advice. And after this point, I believe Michelle will leave us because she'll go to class. And then finally, to finish, we'll look at the programs that Corvinus has available. And then during the event, please type any of your questions in the chat function. And then at the end, we'll answer the questions. So at the moment, I can't see your questions during the event whilst I'm presenting. At the end, after the presentation slides, we'll come back and we'll answer as many of your questions as possible. Okay, step one is the key dates, the process and the nominations. So as I said, this one is available on the Tempus website. It's in nice red and green colors like the Hungarian flag. You can see that the first step is to make your application. So this is very, very important. I was just talking to Michelle about this before the event, so she'll add some insights, but very important thing, there's two things you need to do. First is to submit your application via Dream Apply, which is the online system. Make sure that you complete that online application system and provide all the documents that we tell you to provide today. This is one of two things that you'll need to do. The other thing is to contact the sending partner in your country. And the sending partners may have their own individual or unique deadlines as well. So it's very important that you contact the sending partner and find out when you should also apply to them. It's the same documents that you submit online. Check with them what the process is. Can you send via email? Should you send them in person or via post? And check the dates. And it really varies from country to country. We'll show you later how you can find who the sending partner is in your country. So this is step one. If you miss this, you've got no chance of being awarded a scholarship. So you have to meet that 15th of January deadline, submit your online application and contact the sending partner as well. The next step is internal check. First of all, Tempus will do a technical check. So that's the Hungarian decision makers. And then the sending partner will nominate you if you've been successful. And we'll talk in a bit about how likely you are to be nominated. So this is the first step in the process after submitting the application, the technical check and the nomination. After this, we basically proceed to the admission procedures. So the next few you can group together. So what the admissions procedures are will vary depending on which university you apply for and which programs you apply to. And I'll explain to you what the procedures are for Corvinus University of Budapest in upcoming slides. There's a medical certificate that you have to submit by 15th of April. There's a template provided on the Tempus website. Stick to the template, ask your doctor to do all the tests that are listed in the template and provide the results in the format listed. It's really simple. Stick to doing it that way. You can't go wrong. By the end of June, then you'll know how you've got on. You'll know if you've got an academic place. So the nomination is earlier. After the nomination, there's the admissions processes. The university makes the decision on the admission process, and then you'll find out the results by the end of June. Normally, this is a conditional offer at this stage. And then later, your offer will become unconditional. So we call that the letter of acceptance, letter of unconditional acceptance. And you will get from Tempus, from Stipendium Hungaricum, you will get a letter of award of the scholarship. With these two things, you can start to apply for the visa. And then the last step is to plan your arrival in Hungary. Before I ask Michelle to speak, I've noticed I've said the word Tempus a few times. If you don't know what Tempus is or who Tempus is, that's the governing body of the scholarship. So Tempus is Stipendium or Stipendium Hungaricum, and the program belongs to Tempus. So just to clear that up. As for the name of the program, we say Stipendium, we say Stipendium. It doesn't matter. In Hungary, you'll find out when you come and study here that the S is pronounced as a sh sound. So that's why I have a habit of saying Stipendium Hungaricum. Michelle, could you please give us some insights on this one?
Yes, I wanted to make an emphasis on the first step that you said, because right now we're in the middle of November, and you know we still have some time before January 15, which is the closing date. But usually the sending partner, which would be the Ministry of Education or some sort of institution in your country, is going to have different, like you said, like different deadlines for the application, which is as important to comply with as this the Dream Apply, like the Stipendium Hungaricum application process. Because if you fail to comply with any of them deadlines or documents they require, then like Matt said, you are not going to go through any of the other steps. And it's also important in my case in particular to mention is that they also required other type of documents, like local documentation, for example, on my taxes or on my address or things like this from my home country. So that required some other time considerations of on my side, because I had to go around not only collecting documents to comply with this process with the Stipendium Hungaricum, but also with the national process. So like I would like to make an emphasis on this for each of you to be sure to contact them, to be aware of everything they require, and to comply with it, because it's as important as this. Otherwise, they're not gonna go through the process. So that is what I should add.
Very good point. Thanks, Michelle. And I didn't know that you would be asked for these local documents, as you called them as well. So this is a really key point. It might not just be the documents that we state today and that are stated in the call for applications. Your sending partner might have some more specific requirements.
Correctly, they have like two. So in the case, it's two processes: the national and the Hungaricum. So they may differ, although most of the documents are the same, but they may differ in the local requirements.
Brilliant. Thanks, Michelle. Okay, nominations. So I mentioned the word nominations a few times. So the nomination has nothing to do with the university. We cannot influence who is nominated. All we can do is what we're doing today, give you our advice on how to make a quality application. But this is really down to your country's sending partner. The nominations could be subject to the program that you've applied for and which programs the sending partner wants to prioritize. So, for example, in last year, we noticed a very high rejection rate for the International Economy and Business Masters in Nigeria. This wasn't a program that the sending partner wanted to prioritize last year, whereas students for other programs had a greater opportunity to be nominated. So we don't know exactly what the sending partner's preferences will be. The programs you're eligible to apply for are listed on the website, the Study in Hungary website, and there's a page dedicated to partners that we'll talk about later. Check that first. In fact, you won't be able to even apply for any programs if you're ineligible for them. But really, it's just to give you an idea that the sending partner can make some decisions that we don't fully understand as the university. But it could be due to labour market requirements sometimes. So, for example, if in your country there's a shortage of doctors, maybe medicine programs are going to be prioritised. That's just to give you a bit of a flavour. But generally, how many people are nominated? So a good case study or good sample of data is last year's applications to Corvinus for bachelor and master programs. Had over 6,000 applications for bachelor, master, or undergraduate, postgraduate, as you prefer. And around 1,000 of those were nominated. So it's approximately a 1 in 6, 1 in 7 success rate of applying to being nominated. Now that might seem a bit daunting, but if you take the advice that we give you today, you give yourself the best opportunity of being nominated. So just my last point to reiterate here, Corvinus, no universities are involved in the nomination process. This is down to the sending partner mainly. And don't forget, there's some technical checks as well that happen at this stage that we talked about earlier in the process. Okay, how we assess your application. So the first thing that we do is the pre-analysis. And when I introduced myself, I said that I'm one of the people responsible for this. So last year, I led a project team of 5 or 6 staff who worked in our unit in the organization, international student recruitment. And we gave this intelligence and this information to the program leaders who then would interview you, who would arrange the interviews. And later, this is the primary person who's responsible for your acceptance. So we have a good idea of, well, we know what we're looking for in the pre-analysis. So the advice that I give you is based on a lot of observations from last year, and I will tell you what we'll be looking for this year. First thing you need to know, so if you apply for a master program or executive means MBA, you must meet the minimum credit requirements. So please look on the website. I'll show you on the latest slide where you can see this information, the Study in Hungary website. For each master program and for each MBA program, you'll see minimum credit requirements. This says that your bachelor degree has to have a minimum of these credits for you to be able to be accepted. So the first thing Corvinus will check, do you have these minimum requirements? If you think you don't have the minimum requirements, and you should be able to make a broad assessment on that before applying, don't apply for that program. It's going to result in disappointment. So please check you meet these minimum requirements. Even if you're nominated, you're going to be rejected if you don't meet these minimum requirements. And we'll talk in a bit more about what these could be. MBA. Okay, I've noticed there's a lot of confusion about an MBA. In some countries, you might think of a Bachelor in Business as a BBA. You might call it a Bachelor of Business Administration. And you might think that an MBA, a Master of Business Administration, is the program that directly follows the Bachelor in Business Administration. It's not. It's a more senior program. That's why we call it an executive level program. You must have a degree, a bachelor degree, and a minimum of 3 years of work experience after finishing that degree. So for example, for 2022, to apply for an MBA, you have to have graduated before September 2019 and have had 3 years work experience. If you don't have that work experience, you can't apply for an MBA. You can apply, but you'll be rejected. So please make sure that you meet the minimum work experience requirements. Again, this is listed on the program information pages on the Study in Hungary website. Okay, so that's very important. If you don't have those work experience requirements and you're interested in a business master program, I strongly recommend Corvinus's MSc in finance or our MSc in marketing. These could be more appropriate programs for you, but an MBA, not until you have the 3 years work experience. Please make sure you complete the fields in the application form, enter the information in a presentable way and clearly. Make it easy for the person checking your application to check and to analyze. We look at thousands of applications. If they're rushed and not well thought through, that doesn't make us very happy when we're checking them. So please, to give yourself the best opportunity, present this in a quality manner. Make sure you upload all your documents. Give as many documents as possible at the start. This includes your academic history. So if you're still at school, that's fine, but give us your transcript of records up until now. Yeah, so if you're in 12th grade, give us your history up until 11th grade, so we can see how you're performing. If you're applying for a master's program and you're in year 3 of your undergraduate degree, that's fine, but we want to see a transcript for years 2 or the first 2.5 years if available already. We check the ranking of your institution if you have your master's program. So we check to see if you studied at a top 1,000 university, and we check your GPA. We want to see how well you've performed. Obviously, top performers will score better than performers with weaker GPA. Generally, the English language test is required for everybody. So everybody who's a non-native speaker, strongly encourage you to have an English language test and to do that test before you apply, before you submit your application. And I will tell you which tests we accept. Your English language proficiency should be within 2 years of the program start date as well. Okay, the minimum credit requirements, I mentioned this one already. So the best way to find this is when you search for the program on the Study in Hungary website, you'll see a section called entry requirements. And here you can see for the MSc marketing, you need to have a minimum of 30 ECTS. ECTS is the European credit system. If you're not sure about how to convert from your country's credit system to ECTS, we can give you advice on that. Basically, the simplest way is to calculate your total study hours, your total learning hours. That doesn't just mean the time in the classroom, but it means time dedicated to private study and assessment. And once you have your total study hours, if you divide by 30, that will give you the answer in ECTS. So one ECTS is approximately 30 learning hours. So you can see for marketing, you need to have 30 ECTS in something related to economics and something related to business. Okay, so you can study a different bachelor program, but you have to have these competencies in your bachelor's somewhere, and you have to meet the minimum amount. More than 30 ECTS, great, but you must meet the minimum. English language requirements. So this is just for Corvinus University. Different universities might have different requirements. So we accept Cambridge, IELTS, TOEFL, the TOEFL IBT, TOEIC, and the new test is Duolingo. All of these are equivalent to B2 level. There's no specific component requirements, so there's no minimum required for speaking, listening, reading, or writing. We're just interested in the overall score, although we will check the components when we do our pre-analysis. And please note the bottom one, Duolingo. So not all universities in Hungary will accept this one. Corvinus now does accept. I really recommend this test, and I think there's no excuse not to do it before the application period because it's online. So there's no question if you're not being able to make it to a test center, and it's very affordable as well. It's around $50 to do that test. So I really recommend this one. If you have higher than these minimum requirements, of course, you're showing us that you have strong English skills. And this is something that we'll look at. So these scores here are the minimum. These are the very, very minimum to apply to our programs. So somebody with IELTS 7.0 or 8.0 is going to be considered a stronger applicant than somebody with 6.0. But if you don't have these minimum requirements, please don't apply this year. Work on your English skills for another year at least until you meet these requirements. Okay, then we do this pre-interview analysis internally. So this is what we consider. We look at your motivation, we look at your written English skills, we look at your work and activity experience, and then we create an overall score. For all of these categories, it's an informal score, but we share this with the person and the people interviewing you. And it's qualitative, not quantitative. So we score below average, average, good, or excellent. And generally, the people who are good and excellent are those who are recommended for the program. So we score each of these 4 components in each of these 4 ways. Okay, and we want you to try to score good and excellent. Remember, motivation, written English, and work and activity experience. These are very important components in the application. The motivation letter is going to be key to the first 2, and there's space for you to put your work and activity experience as well. Okay, mathematics test. So there's only 3 programs for which Corvinus requires a mathematics test. This is applied economics, business and management, and international business. And they're all bachelor level or undergraduate programs. Based on last year, there were 8 questions and there was a total of 80 points available. The pass mark was 56%. So there's something like 43, 44, 45. It's predominantly calculus. Test is predominantly calculus. There's some practice questions available. My colleague Lily, who's helping us today, might be able to post this in the chat function for you, so you can see the link to the practice questions. And some recommended reading. So there's a textbook that we recommend. This is the link to the textbook on Amazon. And there's specific chapters in that book that will help you to prepare for that test. You'll be exempt from a mathematics test if you have the APE mathematics with a score of 3 or greater. If you've done the SAT and you have greater than 680 in level 2 mathematics, and if you have the ACT and a score of 27 or above. So to summarize, you'll either do the mathematics test, or if you have one of these exemptions, you don't need to do the mathematics test. You get an immediate offer. Interview test, something that's new this year. So for master applicants, postgraduate applicants, we'll ask you to do a test before an interview. It will probably be a case study or a very, very short assignment related to your program. So we'll test your skills, but also your soft skills as well. For this one, I believe you'll be contacted by the program team. So if you're applying for sociology, the person who is the coordinator for the sociology program will contact you, likely to be via email. And you could have a very short window to complete this test and to send it back. If you don't do this test on time, you won't be invited for interview. And if you don't pass, again, pass mark will be 56%. You may not be invited for interview as well. Okay, interview, and Michelle will give you some tips on this one as well before she leaves us. So all programs are set for applied economics, business management, and international business. These are the ones that had a mathematics test. You need to do an interview. Here's how we score you. So you have to have knowledge relevant to your program. That makes up 25% of the interview score. You have to have skills relevant to your program. So what have you done in your academic and employment history that's relevant to this program? How can you evidence those skills? So you don't just say, I have communication skills or I have marketing skills. You will say something like, I had a 2-week work experience program where I was managing social media accounts for company X. And we grew the Facebook page from 6,000 to 7,000 visitors in this period. So that's how you give a skill and give evidence behind it. So you have to demonstrate the skills. Last one, motivation. Motivation is extremely important. But this means motivation for the program. Yeah, so it doesn't mean motivation for necessarily for studying Hungary. It could, to a certain extent, it could for studying at Corvinus. But the most important thing is why you want to study that subject and what skills you have to study the subject previously. Again, the pass mark for the interview is 56. Michelle, did you want to share any tips on the interview?
Yeah, sure. What I wanted to maybe give a tip for those out there who are probably nervous about how to prepare for this. What I did is also check upon the professors that are giving lectures, the lecturers of the program I was applying to, and check what are their interests, their academic interests, what papers have they published lately, because all of your teachers, which you're going to be having classes with, are great academics in their own particular fields. So check on them, see what they have published lately, see if any of them have any particular interests that are also your interests, and that way you could during the interview you could also connect with the interviewer this way, like say, hey, I have read the latest professor's paper, and this is something I'm interested in, and that would be very helpful because you will be working with that professor probably in your thesis, well, to graduate. So that was very helpful, and also, like, if you have if you're not sure about that, it may be you cannot connect with any of these professors. Maybe try checking on the journals, academic journals that have some relevant topics of your interests, and see what are the latest findings on this particular area that that you could work on during your master's, because this is a research focused master's. In my case, sociology is very focused on research, so it was very interesting that I was able to connect with one of the teachers in her particular interest. So maybe that tip could be helpful for some of you.
Brilliant. Very good advice. I had not thought of that. It is really good to check who's interviewing you. I've used this technique for job interviews, and you can do this with LinkedIn nowadays. So I think it's very applicable to an academic interview as well. So yeah, thanks, Michelle. That's really good advice.
Thank you. And sorry, I will be leaving because I have a class very soon.
Do you want to share your final tips about application, because we're on that? Do you want to give some final thoughts, Michelle, before you go to class?
Sure. Just make sure. I know you're going to talk about the first and second.
Don't worry. You say anything you like.
But I just wanted to say that be sure of how you're applying and what program is going to be your main interest, because when the interview comes, you will have to be very, very aware of everything that's going to entail. And that, I think the interview is one of the cornerstones of the whole process, because they will measure upon also your personal interests, which is very important. So make sure you are making the right choice, because this is going to be a choice for the next 2 years that you're going to be full-time devoted to, but then after it's going to have an impact, a direct impact in your life. So make sure you're doing the right decision, and make sure you are doing following all the steps in the due time. And maybe that's all I could add based on my experience.
It's very good. Thanks a lot for joining us today. And I know you have to run to class now. So have a good day, Michelle, and thank you.
Good luck to all of you. Bye, Matt.
Bye. Okay. So just carrying on from where Michelle left. So these are some tips. You might think this first one is very obvious, but believe it or not, I've seen last year at least 2 nominated applications that were not in English. One was in Chinese, the other was in Portuguese. Now, it does depend on what language your study program is in, but for Corvinus, the study programs are in English. So generally, your application should be in English. If you speak Hungarian, I believe you can apply in Hungarian, but I think this is a very esoteric group of applicants. And don't think you have to go and learn Hungarian in the next few weeks and that will impress us if you do a Hungarian application. Do it in English. You're applying to study in English. So actually, we want to assess your written English skills. It's much better to apply in English. This is so important, this next tip. I've seen so many people come unstuck because of this one. People that wanted to come to Corvinus that ended up at other universities instead. You have 2 priorities. It's stated in the call for applications, this as well. Your first priority, you will go to if you're accepted to your first priority. Your second priority, you only will go to if your first priority rejects you. Okay, so the order is very, very important. It's not just 2 choices and later you'll decide. Your first priority has big significance. Another tip that I'll reiterate later, you can apply for 2 different programs, or you can apply for 2 different universities. So keep that in mind. You could apply for 2 programs at Corvinus University of Budapest. And that could give you, obviously, a better chance of being accepted to the university. I mentioned this already, but please put care into your application. It's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This scholarship is going to give you funding for your tuition. It's worth more than 6,000 euros per year in many cases, just for the tuition, and an extra 200 euros per month for living costs, potentially. So we're talking over the course of a 3-year or a 2-year program, tens of thousands of euros. We do expect you to respect the application process and to put care into it. If you rush it, you don't complete fields, you don't write things with capital letters at the start of a sentence, you misspell words, It's careless and lazy. And would you expect us to put time into assessing your application if you put that little time into preparing it? Hopefully, I'm preaching to the converted, and everybody who's attending today is a top student anyway. But please do this carefully and respectfully. This includes researching the program you're applying for. This makes such a big difference. And we've talked about this at the interview already. It's very important for the motivation letter. People write very, very vague information in their motivation letters and why they want to study a specific program. My father had a business when I was young as a reason to study business. It could be good. It could be expanded upon. But what kind of business do you want to do? What skills did you gain? How did you work with your father? This is very important. It's always been my dream to study in Hungary. I've read so many applications where it's been a dream. And I'm not sure that a 5-year-old in Kazakhstan did dream of studying in Hungary. It might have been something that you became ambitious about and wanted to do later. So be honest. Of course, we want you to show desire and motivation, but we want to see most that your desire and motivation is for the program that you're applying for. And the way that you can prove this to us is by researching it. As I was just saying, technical details far more important than emotional appeals. So we read quite a lot of sob stories, and I'm aware that people come from difficult circumstances. I'm aware of the amount of money the scholarship offers, and I've already stated it can be life-changing. So I don't say that that's irrelevant, but we want to focus on your academic merits. This is the most important thing to get across in your application. So please focus on this before anything else. The other thing to do is to give us all the documents up front that you can. And I mentioned this already. So do the English proficiency test before you apply. Submit your academic documents that you have to date before you apply. And don't miss the work and activity experience. I already told you that this is something that we assess before interview or before the mathematics test. It's very, very important. For me personally, I worked from when I was 16 years old. So I do expect people applying to university to have some kind of experience and that they've been doing something outside of the classroom. If you don't have work experience, it can be extracurricular. It could be voluntary work. It could be charity, working on a charity, or it could be supporting a business or a friend or a family member. Or it could be doing some additional courses or programs. But we really expect you to have done something, and we don't expect you to leave this section empty. It's very, very important. And for master's applicants, you really, really should have some professional experience, even if it's part-time. It's a very important part of the application. So please don't leave this empty, and try to make sure that you have some good experience that you can write about. Okay, and I'm going to talk to you about the academic record and motivation letter shortly. How do you research the program? So first of all, there's very good information available on the Study in Hungary website. You'll be able to search for institution, and then you'll be able to search for program page. Read the information that's on this page. It will help you. It talks you through what the entry requirements are. It tells you what the program is about. It gives you a link to the Corvinus program page on our website. And you can see here on the right, there's a link to what's called the program specification. This is very, very important. Read the program specification, find out what subjects you're going to study, and then use this for your application. Use this in your application, and it will make a big difference. If you research it before you apply, you're already preparing for the interview by doing this. So you're giving yourself a better chance of being nominated, a better chance of having a high pre-interview score, and a better chance of performing in the interview. So we expect you to know what the program is about, what the content of the program is, that you can commit to the hours of the program. So for example, this is listed here. And then this should be factored into your application, notably the motivation letter. The academic records. So please start with the latest or the most recent level of education first. So if you're studying now, start with what you're studying now as the first level of education and then work backwards. I hope that's clear. Make it even more clear. The very latest should be master's if you have a master's level qualification, then bachelor's if you have a bachelor's level qualification, then high school. You don't need to go to before high school. High school is sufficient for all of our programs. You must include GPA. Please include GPA or your average grade for each experience. Yes, we will find this on the transcripts that you upload, but put your GPA on the application. Again, it shows care, it shows thought, it makes it easier for the person assessing your application, and it gives us a very clear picture. Sometimes documents are not provided in English. I would recommend that you provide translations as well, but it's much easier for us if it's here. Once you've entered the education, upload your documents once in the Dream Apply system and put them in the same order that you entered them in the system. It makes it much easier to follow that way. And the order you should have is the certificate. So if you've completed that qualification, put the final certificate, and then the transcript. The transcript is the supporting document to the certificate, which shows which subjects you've studied and what grades you've got. So put these, certificate and transcript, for each education experience you have. If you haven't completed the qualification, give your GPA and your average grade to date. Yeah, so it's not your final GPA, it's your average, and provide the in-progress transcripts for that qualification. Okay, and this helps us to make an assessment. Okay, I'm going to speed up so we can get to your questions. So let's talk about motivation letter quickly. So we read thousands of these letters. How do you make yours stand out? Well, first of all, be concise. Tempers advise you to write a minimum of 1 page. They advise you to write in Times New Roman font 12. I'm not a big fan of Times New Roman myself, but this is the font that you're asked to write in. So follow the instructions, please. As I've been saying quite a few times today, I hope you've caught this point by now. Subject knowledge and motivation to study the subject takes precedence over anything else. Yeah, we read a lot of, it was my dream to study in Hungary. Tell us why you want to study business or economics or sociology. Give us evidence from your history that you have that's relevant to that program. Tell us how, say you want to study business, how studying digital marketing is going to help you in your career if you want to be an SEO expert, for example, based on studying that at Corvinus. This is a good letter of motivation. This shows care, it shows research, it shows seriousness about the subject. Use those program specifications that I mentioned on the earlier slide. Always give evidence. I talked earlier about giving evidence. So don't just say, I have good teamwork, I have good communication, I have good business skills. It's irrelevant if you don't back it up by saying, yeah, what you did. So I worked on a project with 5, 6 other classmates. That's a better example of teamwork. Give the outcomes of what the project was. You always have to give the evidence. Okay, and then focus on the future as well. So you can look backwards, but also look towards the future. So like I said, studying digital marketing because of X, Y, and Z could help me in my career goal of becoming an SEO expert because, and then last, really simple one, but just to make sure, get people to check. So ask your family, ask your friends, ask teachers, ask people studying at Corvinus in Hungary already to have a look at your letter of motivation. A few opinions is normally good. Okay, final few tips and advice. So make sure that you use this partners section to see who the sending partner is in your country. So we talked about that earlier. Michelle gave some good points about this as well. It would be useful to contact this person in the first instance to see what you need to do to apply to them alongside submitting the online application. So I'd recommend you email this person to check any deadlines and any specific requirements they have. And of course, there's a person for each country. Another key point, so you can see on the screen, to get to this page, just use the link above. You can see for your country which programs are available. So for example, this is Belarus. So if you're from Belarus, unfortunately, there's no scholarships available for bachelor programs, apart from these partial studies at the bottom. So if you wanted to study a 3-year bachelor program and you're from Belarus, you wouldn't have an opportunity to do that. But if you wanted to do a master's program and it was in one of these subjects here, you can apply. So please check this page for those 2 reasons. See which programs are available and see who the decision maker is in your country. Check the deadlines and check the requirements with them that we talked about earlier. Okay, final few more tips. I've said this already, so you can apply for 2 programs at the same university. So you want to apply for Corvinus, apply for marketing and finance, that's fine. Or you could apply for finance at Corvinus and University X. So there's 2 different options, apply for 2 universities or apply for 2 different programs at the same university. Give yourself time, apply before the deadline. Remember, you need to check in with the sending partner if they have a different deadline. Some of them do. Always check your emails, including junk and spam folders. Make our email address, this is our admissions email address, international.application@uni-corvinus, and the Stipendium Hungaricum at Tempus email address. Make these not junk or spam. Lily, if you don't mind, could you share these email addresses in the chat? And if you don't, if you've missed an email and you don't attend an interview or you miss some documents that you should have submitted by a given date, you could be rejected. So that's how important it is. Check the resources on our website. So we have a devoted page for Stipendium Hungaricum applicants. Lily will post this one in the chat. We have some frequently asked questions, specifically asked by stipendium applicants in previous years. Check this one. It will help you with the application process, but also later if you're accepted. Please follow our international blog on Facebook. We post regular content on there. We give advice to stipendium students. We share student stories. It's a really nice way to connect with the university and see what life here is like as an international student. But there'll be some really useful content there as well. Join any webinars we host. We will likely hold more webinars for people who've been nominated to help them with the next steps in the process. We might do a kind of open day for stipendium applicants around March, April, or May next year. So keep an eye out. We'll keep in touch with you. Join everything you can. It's a good way to connect with the university and other potential students. Don't forget the mandatory medical certificate. Please send it in the format that Tempus publish on their website. We'll include a link to this here and do it before the 15th of April. And finally, read the call for applications as well. We'll send you the link to that. Today's webinar is to give you some general advice. It's very Corvinus specific. There are some finer details, so please check the call for applications as well to complement everything that we've shared with you today. For your questions, just very, very quickly about Corvinus. So we have 6 programs at undergraduate level. We have more, I think around 12 at postgraduate level. All our programs are related to business, economics, and social science. So if you're interested in these programs, we're a brilliant place to consider. We have PhD programs available as well. Some of them I've listed here. We're accredited by AMBER and EQUIS. This effectively puts us in the top 2% in the world for business-related studies. And we're also ranked in the top 300 in the world by the QS. I'm sure many of you know of the QS World Rankings. You can check this online. We're in the top 300 in the world for business, economics, and social science in the subject rankings. So it's a chance to study one of these specialist subjects at a top 300 university in the world for free. I think there's very few offerings available in English language as good as that. And of course, studying in Hungary in Budapest is fantastic as well. And Corvinus is one of the universities located in the center of the city. There is, of course, a Budapest advantage as well. And for me, having lived here for 1 year, I think it's a great place to live. And I hope you all love it as well. Okay, I didn't leave much time for questions. Hopefully we can spend a bit of extra time if we need to, but thank you very much for attending today. I hope I wasn't too strict and too direct. I'm trying to give you the best advice I can based on my observations. So I hope that you take this advice. I hope you make an application. I hope you prepare your application and hopefully you'll get nominated if you prepare it carefully. Hopefully you'll pass the interview and everything else, and potentially we'll be meeting some of you, and definitely we'll be meeting some of you in September next year. If you've got questions, there's international study at uni-corvinus.hu email address as well. Thank you. Okay. Let's see what questions. 67 comments. My gosh, that's a lot. Okay, I'm going to try to check through some of these. Thank you to everybody that said hi. Hi, back to you. We will save the event. We'll upload it to Facebook. I had some questions about the letter of motivation, but that was earlier in the webinar. I really hope that we've answered what makes a good motivation letter by now, so I'm not going to go into that one. Should be at least 1 page long. Yes. Some people say differently. Well, the Tempus call for application says 1 page. Yeah, more than 2 pages is too much, really. So I think your motivation letter can be concise. Use paragraphs to space out the content. It's really, really helpful. For me, it makes it much easier to read rather than one single paragraph with lots of detailed information. So space it out. Between 1 and 2 pages is good. And check the call for applications because it does say more than 1 page. Can you still, this is from Tico, can you still qualify for the scholarship if you already have a master's in a different discipline and want to pursue another one? My understanding of the call for applications is that yes, you can, if the master's is not from Hungary, if you haven't had a scholarship already. So you can't apply for another stipendium scholarship at master's level. If you have from your home country a master's and want to do a different discipline, if you can create a compelling reason for that in your application, I believe that you're welcome to apply. Okay, let's see, Lynn. I want to understand about the medical requirements. It's written that it should not go beyond April. What does that mean? Well, there's a template on the Tempus website. I believe we've shared the link with you, or we will share the link with you on the Facebook page. Just stick to the format that is in the template. It tells you every test that's involved, and you need to send it to us or submit it online before the date in April. I don't think I can explain any further than that. I hope it's clear. Selma, second year master's student. Lily, thank you so much for what you're doing. It's really nice that when we click on the questions, they show on the screen. I haven't used this software before, and it's really cool. Selma, second year master's student, wants to apply for another master's degree. Is there any chance to get a scholarship? Just answered that one. So if you've applied for a scholarship, if you have a Stipendium Hungaricum scholarship, no. Otherwise, yes, it's fine. Lynn, you want to know about how to calculate your credits. I mentioned that one ECTS is 30 hours, 30 learning hours. So the best way to calculate is to speak to your university or speak to your school. Find out how, sorry, it's just for master's level, so it's just university. Find out how many learning hours there are for each module that you've studied. And then once you have the learning hours, you divide by 30. Yeah, we'll go through all these questions. Okay, Lynn, so we'll include some blog posts about this as well. Follow that international blog on Facebook. I think that will really help. Bridget was asking if today's session will be recorded. Yes, we're recording it. A few people asked for that. My colleagues responded already. Do you accept Duolingo English test, Tasneem? I mentioned Duolingo. You've got a score of 115. Very good. The requirement is 95. That's B2 level. So hopefully you're around C1 level. So that's great. We accept it. Bridget, who's probably not here because she had to go, those who finished their bachelor degree, do they need to provide a language certificate when applying for a master's? If you've completed the bachelor degree in English, this is a circumstance where you're exempt from providing the language certificate. So if you studied in English and you've completed the degree, that can count as your English proficiency. Ian Lane is asking about dual citizenships, one from an English-speaking country. Is the English level test still required? So Ian, if you're from one of the stipendium countries, so first of all, if you're eligible for a scholarship, there's not that many that are native English speaking, but if you are, you could be exempt from the English test if you're a native English speaker. So it depends on where you're from. Perhaps you can email us and we can discuss your specific case. I think that would be the best approach. So contact the international study email address that we shared with you. Tasneem was asking more questions about the Duolingo. Send the formal certificate that you got from Duolingo as proof, please. So send everything that you can. You asked as well about extracurricular achievements. Yes, I talked about that. It's called activities and work experience. So activities means extracurricular. Put those there. Okay, Leonardo, any particular rules about doctoral programs that differs much? Yeah, I'm not a doctoral recruiter, Leonardo, so I'm not a specialist for that. It's my colleague Sylvia Strack, who's responsible for doctoral programs. Don't think there'll be much difference. So I think the advice about the motivation letter is valid. The advice about the English proficiency is valid. Please check the program specific pages on the Study in Hungary website. That's the best advice that I can give. The admission process could differ. So please check those pages and there should be contact details there if you have specific questions. Abu, when are applications being open? They'll open this week on the 18th. That's Thursday. So they'll open on Thursday. Shaka, what type of entrance exam does business informatics have? We talked about this. So all master's programs have a pre-interview test or case study. I can't tell you what the case study will be. It will vary the format from program to program. But it might be something like a business informatics related short essay question. And then, of course, the second component is the interview. Can the English language requirements be sent after we accepted? Technically, according to Tempus, yes. I would like you to provide them up front. I think we've made a very, very good compromise with accepting the Duo English test. I see no reason why everybody can't provide this up front. I know it costs some money. $50 is not zero, but in the context of what you can get out of this scholarship program, I think it's good. It's reasonable. If you show that you're higher than B2 level, this works in your favor. English proficiency is one of the elements that we assess in the application. So like Tasneem, she has 115 in the Duolingo test. Our requirement's 95. This is good. It's good for her. So I really encourage you to do the English language test at the start. And certainly you can't be accepted, you can't be fully accepted without providing the English proficiency. So just do it as soon as you can, and hopefully that Duolingo gives you a good option. The next question from Nikki is basically the same. So I think I've made my position quite clear on that. You should do it at the start. Do it now. Do it now before you have to apply. Book yourself in for a Duolingo English test. I don't work for Duolingo, by the way. I just find the online option suitable for everybody. And as far as I know, it's one of the most cost-efficient tests, the most cost-efficient test. A Turkish colleague, sorry, your name's a bit difficult for me, Hussein, I think hopefully that's the first name. What do you recommend for veterinary? I can't recommend, Corvinus doesn't have any veterinary programs. I don't want to recommend other universities. Please use the study finder option, use the Stipendium website and look which programs are available. Check the partners page and check, I think you're Turkish based on the name, so I guess that you're Turkish. Check that the Turkish sending partner offers scholarships for veterinary postgraduate programs. I believe there is a specialist veterinary university in Budapest, and it's a very good one. So you might want to check those without formally recommending anyone. Okay, more people asking about the video. We will post it. The Stipendium website, we have two options. One, the English proficiency test. That thought looks unfinished, so I don't really know. Didn't get that, sorry. I think we've talked a lot about English proficiency. Sharon, official language is English. This is a bit of a grey area, and it's something the university will change policy on. It's debatable what an official language is. I strongly recommend for most students, except if the language of law is English and all education is English. I'm talking about countries like US, Australia, UK, where actually Stipendium Hungaricum scholarships are not available. In most instances, English is an unofficial official language. So I really recommend Duolingo and other English tests. You know, I recommend Duolingo to everybody. I don't know what your nationality is, Sharon, but I'd really recommend it, taking the English proficiency test. Should I add all my work experience, even if some of them do not make sense with my career goal or master's purpose? Add your work experience, yeah. Normally, work experience makes more sense than you think. Yeah, so show, if you've got more than 5 years and there's really irrelevant work experience before that, you know, you've passed that stage in your life, I think that's fine. If you don't have any work experience and you're not sure if you should put something, put it. If in doubt, put the work experience down. We like to see people who have worked hard and grafted and done difficult jobs in service sectors, in hospitality, manual labor. This shows that you're a determined person and you will have some good soft skills. So nearly every job is relevant. The only people that might want to exclude is people with 5+ years of experience who have a very specific career already. I hope that helps. Sandy, now online, studying Turkey now, 1 more year in my university. Can I apply for this program for this 1 year? There are partial study options, but for Corvinus, you should enter the program from the start. So we don't, it's a bit difficult to work transfers. So we recommend you applying only for the full duration of studies with Corvinus. Okay, somebody called IM. I've got my bachelor degree, but I want to try to take bachelor degree in Hungary. Is it possible? We've answered this one in different ways. You can apply if you haven't used the Stipendium Hungaricum scholarship, but there should be a good reason. There should be a good reason for you applying for the new subject, which you can articulate in your motivation letter. And of course, we'll check your GPA and your bachelor degree. will want to see that you've graduated and that you've performed well in that subject. Danilo. Hi, Danilo. Nice to see you here and to see a question from you. Am I supposed to give my average GPA for the last year or the current semester? Yeah, that's a good question. So you should give your average GPA for the whole academic period to date. So I would calculate you're studying in high school, senior in high school. I would include your whole high school average. So as soon as you started high school through into the final year. So you make an average, including your current academic term or semester. I hope that one helps. Get in touch though if it's not clear, Danilo. I know you've got my email address. We've talked about motivation letters, 3 to 4 pages, too long. Too long. I mean, technically there's no maximum, but it's too long. So over 1 page, but less than 2 pages, I think is good. We've established. Irina did answer. So I don't know if Irina works for Tempus, so she might have some inside information. She might have a different opinion from me. It shows how hardworking you are. Yeah, but that's true, but it's about quality, not quantity. So I think if you follow the advice that I've given, for me as somebody reading the motivation letters, it's an important skill to be able to summarize as well. So be concise, pick off key details. I really recommend 1 to 2 pages. We check thousands of applications, like I said. So you want to come across well with a quick but powerful impression. We've got Monica, a question from Monica. Is it possible to apply only for one program? Maybe, but I'm not sure why you'd want to. So apply for 2 because you have more options. You've got a better chance of being nominated and you've got a better chance of being accepted. So just apply for two programs. Apply for the same program for 2 different universities if there's something very specific you want to study. That's better than just applying for 1. Tasneem, you asked lots of questions. Will we notify students if documents are missing? Do we need documents to be attested? Yes and yes, but we're doing the webinar today because we want you to provide everything up front. So your application will be considered favorably if you provide everything from the offset that you can. So I think based on the information we've given today, everything can be provided up front. The one exception is people who are still studying, people who are still finishing their high school or their bachelor degree. Yeah, we know that you can't provide the final document yet. You can provide that later when you finished studying. Everything else can be given up front. The medical certificate you have until April, like we discussed. Legalization of documents or attestation, we'll send some blog posts about how you need to do that later. It depends on which country you're from. There's 3 different processes. For now, just be aware that it's something that you'll need to do to be unconditionally accepted. Okay, I think eventually there's a few, some people said thanks. Thank you to those who said thanks. Yovana said it was useful. Thanks, Yovana. You just want to check if the scholarship can cover 4 semesters of masters. Yes, it depends on your nationality, Yovana. I guess you're from the Balkans, maybe Serbia from your name. There are master's programs available to Serbian students if you are Serbian. So check that partners page. And yes, the scholarship covers all 4 semesters, and we would very much like you to apply. Sandy, you said you would explain how to find the sending partners. It's that link that I sent, Sandy. So I showed you on the slide and I gave an example for Belarus. If you go to your country, instead of Belarus, you search for your country, you'll find the name of the person who's the key decision maker. So you'll find the details on that page. I believe my colleagues shared the link. It's the one that's /partners. If you can't find it, Google Stipendium Hungaricum partners. You'll find it quickly. Rita Provo, can you please tell me more regarding the country ambassador contact? What do we have to do there? I've said about this one, so it's to go to that page that I just mentioned. The only thing you might want to do is check if there's any deadlines. Thank you to my colleague, to Lily, for sharing that this is the link that we were just talking about. You might just want to check in with the sending partner if there's any earlier deadline other than the 15th of January, and if there's any additional documents you should provide. That's my advice. Can we use points in the motivation letter? Tasnim, not a bad question. I've thought about this. I think technically not bullet points. It should be a letter format, but you can space the information. You can use short paragraphs. And for me, I really like to write this way myself. I find it's easier to give instructions and to convey my message. So I would say not bullet points, but short paragraphs are great. Short sentences are great. I much prefer reading short sentences than long sentences. Mona, if a program specifies there is a maximum of only 20 scholarship holders, does that drastically reduce my chances of being accepted? No, I mean 20 is not particularly low. Actually, 20 is quite mid-range. So I'd say you have a good chance of being accepted. There are quotas for each program. The way the quota works is that if you pass the pass mark, so the pass mark is 56%, you also need to be in the top 20 people to get a scholarship. So that's basically how these maximums work. For that specific program, it's very middle of the road. 20 scholarship places is quite a lot just for Corvinus University and just for that specific program. So you have a good chance. Don't forget you can have a second choice as well alongside that. Ilya, is it possible to apply for a bachelor's degree if I'm already enrolled at a university in my own country? We talked about this one. As far as I know, yes, but check the nationality on the partners page, Ilya, and see which programs are available. Because I don't know what nationality you are. If you're from Montenegro, there's bachelor programs for Corvinus. If you're from Serbia, there's not bachelor programs for Corvinus. If you're from Bosnia, there are options as well. So I'm just guessing based on the name. I hope that was some good guesses. Gio, are there any priority courses? I'm sorry, Gio, I don't really get what the question means. I'm sorry, the priority is what you're most interested in applying. Maybe what you mean is what the sending partner is interested in. You can see which programs you'd be eligible for in your country, but we don't know if there's any specific priorities beyond that one. So check the partners page. There's not much more that I can really say other than that. I am bachelor's degree. We've been asked this question loads of times. I hope you got the answer by now. It's possible if you haven't studied in Hungary and had a scholarship. Template links be shared once again. I think we can share this presentation with you as well. Yep, here's the link to the medical certificate. Thanks, Lily. How many questions? Thanks to the people that said thanks again. Okay. Samariste. Don't know how to say that one. Matt, if the subjects that I have taught in undergraduate course have been taught, I guess you mean, were in English language, do I still need the language proficiency test? Technically, no. At this point in time, technically, no. We've discussed this one already. If you can have a letter from the university proving that the language of instruction was in English and you passed everything, that should be okay. I would still recommend doing an English proficiency test if you can, though, because it can strengthen your application. Is there a work study option for medical professionals? Aliu, no medicine programs at Corvinus. We're business, economic, sociology specialist program. There is opportunities to work in Hungary while studying as an international student. I believe you can work for 24 hours per week. you'd need to probably secure your own work experience. So talk to the universities. There are very good universities in Hungary for medicine. Corvinus doesn't offer medicine, no. Ian, interested in masters. Yeah, you need to finish the bachelor degree before the master's program. And there's this legalization attestation process that we need to do. So Ian, you need to finish it before you apply, really. And to be honest with you, July is probably the latest, depending on your nationality, because we need to apply for a visa as well. It takes some time. So really July is kind of the latest. So if it's going to be later than that, I would recommend applying for the following year, for 2023 instead. Sneha was asking about mathematics. You don't have to have mathematics as a subject in high school, but that test is going to be quite hard for you if you don't have mathematics background. So have a look at the practice paper that we shared. See if you can do that. And alternatively, there's the 3 exemptions, the APE, the ACT, the SAT that I mentioned as well. Geo, is there a minimum GPA? Not formally, but we do expect you to have a good GPA. So we're looking at people that have 4.0 out of 5, 80% GPA. These are the kind of people that will be regarded highly if they apply to Corvinus. No minimum GPA, but you should have a strong GPA. Should I submit my transcripts from grade 9 to 12? Tasnim, you asked lots of questions, which is good. I'm a high school graduate with GPA of 5 out of 5. Okay, we'll submit it. Send through your high school transcripts. If you're applying for a master's degree, the most important thing is the bachelor degree, really. But you can send the high school record if you want as well. Still more questions. Yeah, we've answered this one. So if the education was in English, you can get a letter from your school saying English, fine. You don't need an additional English test. Maria, there's a bachelor's certificate and there is my degree. I have my certificate, but my degree is still in process. Can I apply with my certificate? Not too sure what you meant by certificate and degree. Maybe you meant the transcript, or you're waiting for the final certificate. I'm not sure. You can apply, but you should have everything by the time that you get to unconditional acceptance. So you need everything before June, July next year, really, if possible. For applying, it's fine, as long as you will have this later. Okay, Samaredze, or same. What does a great motivation letter look like for the MBA? Well, I've given advice on how to do a good motivation letter. Read the MBA program specification. You need to have work experience. Please make sure you have a minimum of 3 years work experience after completing your bachelor degree. Bring some of that to the table. The MBA is an executive program, so we'd like to hear about your professional experience. It's really important. That's it. That's all you need to do. Read the program specification, and that will help. And thanks for the kind words. Thanks for joining us. Does the scholarship cover for student housing? Today's session was about making the application, so I didn't want to talk about what the scholarship offers. Please do your own research into that. Having said this, yes, I touched upon it briefly. The scholarship gives you free tuition. The scholarship gives you an accommodation allowance or university accommodation. So you can choose between university accommodation or the allowance. The allowance is worth about 100 euros per month. There's a living cost allowance as well. And the living cost allowance is about 100 euros per month for undergraduate and postgraduate students. There's free medical insurance included as well in the scholarship. It's a brilliant offer. Check the partner's site that you sent, but the field I want doesn't available. Okay, Intan. Well, check the Study in Hungary page as well, using your nationality. the first thing to do is check that you qualify for a scholarship. I don't know what nationality you are, but not all countries people are eligible. So check that first of all. If you're having problems, sorry, I think I played around with my headphones. I'm so sorry. I pulled the headphones out. Okay, you've got me back. Thank you, Lily. Lily is a superstar who's organizing the event behind the scenes, and she's the brains behind the operation. I'm just one of the faces. Walid, take your interview on November the 2nd, but I have no answer as that is logical. Walid, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Maybe you mean about the language test. I'm sorry, it's really not clear to me what this question is. I'll have to move on, I'm afraid. Kyle Cesar, is there a list where it's possible to know if Corvinus has priority to any country or has a higher number of approved based on location of the student? No, there's not a list. We don't publish that information. All I've told you is that there's a 1 in 6 chance of being nominated for programs. There are some programs that are historically more difficult to get onto. So the acceptance rate for social sciences can be higher than business and economics, but we don't formally publish this information. There are some programs that are quite difficult to get onto. So, for example, the MSc Finance is very, very popular. MSc Marketing is very, very popular. So you might want to use your first and second choice quite creatively. Yeah, you might, if you're applying for a business first choice, then maybe a social science second choice could be a good option. So many questions, which is great. We just didn't expect so many. Duolingo, I want to submit my Duolingo to Corvinus, and I just checked my partner country is asking for IELTS after being accepted. Can you check with your partner country then, Shekar, and tell them that Corvinus accepts the Duolingo test? This is published in our admissions policy, which is available actually in Hungarian, but if they have any specific requests for IELTS, then you should do IELTS. I recommend doing that rather than Duolingo if your partner specifically requires it. I'm not sure why they would. It might just be not an up-to-date list. Cardelen, I graduated from sociology and pre-law. Congratulations. For masters, I want to study BA. Maybe that means business. Hopefully you mean masters, not bachelor level. Do you suggest to go for different studies or masters or same with my bachelor level to get the scholarship easier? Okay. Yeah, you seem like a master's level student, Cardelen. So if you can meet the credit acceptance requirements, so when you're changing discipline, this is something you need to be aware of. So if you're going from sociology bachelor level to sociology master's level, it will be easy for you to meet those minimum credit requirements that we talked about. If you're going from sociology to business, it will be a bit harder. So my advice is to check the credit, that you meet the credit requirements. Look, you've done a bachelor's. So my advice would be to aim for a master program after completing a bachelor's, just to make sure that you meet the credit requirements. Monica, is there a good chance if it's your second time applying? Yeah, there's as good a chance, really. It's I don't know if it's considered by the sending partner if you previously made an application. If you want feedback on your previous application, so if you weren't nominated, maybe you would like us to take a look at the motivation letter again, or follow the advice we've given today. And I think if you follow that and you've already applied, maybe you'll see ways that you can strengthen your application. You might want to consider which programs you're applying for as well. Okay, we've got 2 questions left, so I think we'll have to close it after these 2. So thank you to everybody who's asked all these questions. Really wasn't expecting so many. It's a nice thing. Hopefully it means the presentation was clear still. But I think we'll have to close now because it's already been 30 minutes longer than we thought. So Gio, would you advise or encourage us to apply for 2 courses in 2 different universities, 2 same courses? I work for Corvinus, so I strongly encourage you to apply to Corvinus for 2 different programs. It gives you the best opportunity of studying at Corvinus, and if you're interested in business, economics or social sciences, it's a really brilliant option. Yeah, so think about that. If you want to apply for 2, okay, so you're saying 2 same courses, 2 different universities. Yeah, you can do that. So you could apply for marketing at Corvinus and marketing in another university. It might be easier to get into your second choice. Yeah, so that's another strategy. Michael, is a CWA eligible? I'm afraid I don't know what a CWA is. So email us the international study email address, and we'll try to look into what that is and resolve that one. Okay, Ilya says thanks. There's no more questions. That was a lot of talking, but thank you so much everybody who joined today. Thank you everybody who's listening to this, watching it back. Lily, thanks a lot for your help. Thank you to Michelle as well for some really nice insights. Wish everyone a good day and a successful application. Thank you very much. Bye.